What's up, everybody? Today I wanted to talk about a cryo team that has been working surprisingly well for me. I have felt the challenge with trying to build Chongyun as the main DPS for a team because I got him to C6 in the last banner with Razor, and a lot of people were saying how underwhelming he is from his kit, and I wanted to prove people wrong that he can be useful because I don't see him in a lot of builds, and that fascinates me to take someone that is, to me, kind of like an up-and-comer and try to make them useful. So I made a team. Here it is. We got Chongyun, Xingqiu, Venti, and Diona. Fantastic team. I'm going to go ahead here and show a showcase of what the team can do. All right, now first up, let's talk about the unit setup. So I'm going to talk to you about the level, unit, roles, weapons, artifact sets very quickly here. So first up, we got a 85 Chongyun. He has a Constellation 6. He is the main DPS unit in this set. His artifact is the 4-piece Blizzard Strayer set for a little bit more crit. He is set up to be attack percentage, cryo percentage increase, and then crit percentage. He's rocking the Skyward Pride at level 80, and his talents are at a 799 with his Constellation increase. Next up, we got a 70 Xingqiu and a Constellation 2. He's the support DPS damage mitigator, and he also increases resistance to being knocked back. He is running the 4-piece Noblesse Oblige, which gives additional attack on the burst ability, as well as giving additional damage on burst. And he's running attack percentage, hydro percentage, and attack percentage. He's rocking the Sacrificial Sword at level 70 to get a little bit of a reset on that long cooldown for his skill. And his talents are only at a 166. The primary one here is going to be his rain screen for the damage mitigation, or his burst if you want more damage output from that. Then we have Venti. Venti is, God, he's insane. 70 Venti, C1, so I did end up getting one duplicate of him. He is a support DPS Viridescent Swirly Boy. He is rocking the Viridescent artifact set, which allows him to get additional animo damage, as well as increase the swirl damage and reduce the resistance of whatever element is infused with the swirl by 40%, which is absolutely bonkers. Energy percent, animo percent, and attack percent is the way that these are set up, with a 70 Skyward Harp, and his talents are at a 5, 7, and 5. Now, this first one right here, don't do that. That was a mistake. That was me being a noob. And then we got Diona. Diona's only level 60. She's actually at Constellation 6 as well. She is a little bubble healer. She's rocking the 4 Maiden set, so for some additional healing, especially on the burst and skill, which is amazing. She's got energy percentage, HP percentage, and healing percentage. She's rocking the Sacrificial Bow at level 60, and her talents are at a 1, 7, and 9 for her main skills. Primarily, her signature mix is going to take importance here. I only leveled up Icy Paws to increase the amount of time that she has the shields. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Constellations. I kind of just wanted to separate this because I wanted to just quickly showcase the units and what they're looking like in case you're looking to replicate it, I guess, in your mind. And then I wanted to go through the Constellations, talk about which ones are really important to this build if you are thinking about doing it, and where you may see some differences if you did try to replicate this. This also is the reason why I made this team, is because Chongyun and Diona both are C6, and it's the only reason I wanted to build this team the way that I did. I actually also had received Beidou at C5, and it almost made me want to build her, but since I had Chongyun at C6, it won. I also have Ningguang at C5 as well, so those may be futures. But for the sake of this, the reason for this build is that if you have a Chongyun or a Diona at C6, very good to use in a comp just because their C6 is mega powerful. I'm gonna put these in tiers of, good and then game changing. So his C1 adds crowd to his normal final hit. C2 makes his 10-second circle a 15% cooldown reduction for all skills and bursts used within it. It's amazing when you go through your second rotation. So part of the reason I wanted to make a rotational team is because of this right here. This makes it amazing, especially for units with longer cooldowns. But then when you do have energy recharge circulating really good to the point where you're basically just waiting on the skill cooldowns, this actually helps out substantially with it. So that's this is a big one. And then you have his C4 Frozen Skies, which is an energy recharge mechanic. And then his C6 is pretty game changing. It adds basically a 33% increase to his burst damage by adding 1 additional blade. If you're at 100% and they're damaged at all, you're going to do more damage by 50%. Moving on to Diona here. So the first two I'm going to talk about aren't that great. There's one that's pretty much irrelevant that I'm not even going to bring up, and then there's one that's magnificent. So her C1 has an energy recharge mechanic, which is really nice. She actually has a high energy cost for her burst of 80, so this makes it 60, which is normal. 65, I should say. And then her C2 is good for co-op shields, which may not be the greatest right now, but maybe in future content, if co-op becomes a more mainstream thing, or if it's considered more valuable, this could be really good. And then she's got her C6, which is just bonkers. If she has a lower than 30% HP, it increases the healing percent that that unit has until they're over 50% HP, which then gives them an additional 200 elemental mastery. Now, for this team unit, that's basically the equivalent of about 90% of a damage increase to those reactions of Shatter and Swirl, which I'll talk about here shortly. But this is very similar to Sucrose's elemental mastery boost that you get when you get her ascended and actually have some of her weapon built and everything. But it's absolutely amazing just to have this. Now with Xingqiu actually has some amazing ones. He has 3 really, really good ones and one that's just still pretty good, but I just don't think it's game changing. On paper, it doesn't look as exciting as the others. He's kind of like Bennett, that everybody talks about Bennett. I think Xingqiu is the shit. Xingqiu's C1, it upgrades the swords from 3 to 4. Then the C2, well, basically the value of this here is that you basically have an additional damage mitigator. C2 extends the Q ability, the burst, and decreases resistance to Hydro by 15% for 4 seconds. This is really, really nice, especially if you use it in this rotation after Venti, because you're gonna have everybody swirling, and if you use rain swords, it's just going to C4, which this is the one that I'm saying is still good. Increase the damage dealt by the fatal rain screen, increase by 50% during the duration of Rain Cutter, which is the burst ability. And then C6 is also just absolutely nuts. I'm really sad I don't have this, and this is like the only reason I wanted to summon in this event banner. The C6 is a damage buff and energy recovery for him, so it's just constant. And I think the damage buff is pretty nutty because the rain swords already do significant damage, and it's based on how fast you're attacking, so this is big. We have the 2 Cryo Resonance, which is a 15% crit buff, plus you get the Electro Effect Reduce, which can come in handy at times. You got Diona adding her shield, and on her burst increases her elemental mastery by 200, which is roughly 90% on the swirl and shatter reactions that are about to happen. And then she also is using 4-star Maiden, which is improving her healing, which reduces the time for her C6 to go from the healing improvement to the elemental mastery, so they can benefit from that. Then when we switch to Venti, she's gonna go through and CC everybody with his burst, reduces the resistance to Cryo, plus he's gonna spread Cryo effect to all of the non-effective monsters coming onto the field if some die and others spawn, and it's gonna imbue that damage of the element that is being paired with it, and it's gonna do increased damage during that. Then he's also got 4-star Viridescent, which also increases the swirl damage by 60% and reduces the infused element resistance by 40% for 10 seconds. This is really nice that you throw it out there and switch away from him as soon as possible. And there are times that this may get mixed with Xingqiu's ability, which is totally fine because Rain Sword still messes stuff up. Then Xingqiu comes on the field, adds Hydro, does quite a bit of Hydro damage as well, and it causes all of the units to freeze that are around, and does quite a bit of damage. And then also has the 4-star Noblesse, which increases attack by 20% for 12 seconds. And then this is when you switch over to Chongyun, everything's frozen. You got the elemental advantage. And so you're going to use his skill and burst to benefit from all the stack buff, and then close it on the monsters to basically shatter and refreeze them using Rain Screen multiple times. Now with the 4-star Blizzard Strayer set that he has on, he's getting a 15% cryo damage buff and a cryo effect 20% crit and frozen 20% crit. So 40% crit during frozen by Chongyun. Now, this is the piece that people haven't realized, I guess. A lot of people said that he's not good with Blizzard Strayer because he shatters them so quickly. So it basically renders it useless after that point. With Xingqiu, it's almost the anti-worry for that because you're going to continue refreezing them, which is totally fine. And because you're in that frozen field, it'll just, as you walk around, you're just going to freeze them. I didn't realize up front, I don't know why I didn't realize that, but it does. A lot of people were overlooking Chongyun. Is in one of his talents with his Constellation 6. So Rhyme Chaser Blade on Ascension 4 is going to give him a Spirit Blade that will be summoned to strike nearby enemies, which deals 100% of the Layered Frost skill damage as AoE Cryo. And then opponents hit by this blade will have their Cryo resistance decreased by 10% for 8 seconds. Now, this can be nice if you can reapply apply it, use the force field, use his burst, skill rotate again through everybody, come back and use it again. This will also increase damage. The piece that this is good with is if you actually look at this, on level 9, it's 292%. Even his burst ability only does 242%. With 3 of these at base, that's only 750% damage, basically at level 10. The crazy part is that when you get him to C6, this becomes almost 1000%. And then you have Spirit Blade for about 1300%. And on top of that, as you notice, it's AoE. So it's AoE damage that's happening. So it's affecting multiple monsters and not just one. Yes, it's possible that they won't hit some monsters, but that's why we're involving crowd control in this build to make it more possible. So I hope that this was helpful for any of you that have been wanting to build Chongyun, trying to figure out how to build him, what units work with him, whatever the case is. I'm sure that this team would be just fine using Sucrose. I haven't tested it since I've been using Venti. I just prefer Venti at this point, but Sucrose could be a really good alternative for him. I mean, she's also got Elemental Mastery, so it's going to improve that as well. For Diona, if you got Ganyu, it's also solid. If any of you guys have Jean and Ganyu, pairing that instead of Venti and Diona, I would love to hear from you if you build this, because that would be sick. Like that would be a cool team to also see. And hey, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for supporting my channel with just watching these videos, subscribing if you do, liking them, and commenting. It really goes a long way. It allows me to be able to connect with you guys and answer questions, and I really, really appreciate that. If you want to ask something specific, feel free to comment it below. Also connect with me through Discord. You guys can always join my Discord and reach out to me personally. I have no problem answering any questions for all of you. You will notice I will always respond as quickly as I can, unless I'm sleeping. So I just want to say thank you all, and I will see you in the next one.